The breathtaking view of the flooded plains of the Zambezi River welcomes you to the land popularly known as the Barotseland. Barotseland is positioned between the southwestern side of Zambia and the southeastern boundary of Angola. It also comprises the border between Namibia and Zambia. Namibia and Zambia are separated by a strip of land called the Caprivi Strip. The Caprivi Strip is a piece of land that pokes itself into the Barotse Kingdom and stretches for hundreds of kilometers into Zambia. The land, popularly known as Barotseland, is officially known as the Western Province of Zambia, and it lies some 600 kilometers west of the capital city, Lusaka. Generally, floods are never a welcome phenomenon anywhere. Yet, from time immemorial, floods in Barotseland have always been a normal occurrence among the people of the land. Ironically, it is only when the Barotse plains get flooded that the annual traditional ceremony of Kuomboka can take place. The Barotse Valley, which is the floodplain of the upper Zambezi River, floods each year between March and July. The rains fill the streams that flow into the Zambezi River, which in turn swells up and spills its water onto the plains. Entire villages along the plains are submerged and waterlogged. The flooding compels the people and their livestock to move to higher ground surrounding the plains. The higher ground surrounding the plains is known to the people as Mukulo. The custom of Kuomboka was first initiated by a man called Anaconda in the 17th century. Anaconda realized the need to evacuate the Litunga and his subjects, together with their belongings, to higher ground at the edge of the plain. It was, however, Litunga Mulambwa Santulu who first made the Kuomboka a colorful ceremony that it is today. Anaconda's Anaconda was made of pieces of timber held together by makenge. Makenge are thin strips of roots of the mukenge tree. In those days, the pieces of timber were nailed together using locally made nails. The first Anaconda was known as Njonjolo. Several people from within the country and beyond begin to arrive in Mongo, the provincial capital of the Western Province, days before the actual Kuomboka ceremony. And rightly so, because the Kuomboka ceremony starts 3 to 4 days before the actual event. The Litunga's boat, the Anaconda, and other boats such as the Notila and the Mbolyanga and many other boats are prepared for the Kuomboka ceremony many days before the voyage. First of all, circular canopy frames made of dry sticks are prepared and tied with cotton strings on top of the boats. The canopy frames are then covered with dry reed mats and remain so until a day or two before the Kuomboka ceremony. It is now 2 days before the Kuomboka ceremony. To signal the start of the Kuomboka, the large maoma drums that have been specifically prepared in the sun are brought near a fire. At about 21 hours in the evening, sounding of the maoma drums starts. This event is called Kufulumuna. The Litunga is the first one to sound the drums. Through the act of sounding the maoma drums, the Litunga beckons the paddlers in his kingdom and officially informs the people that the Kuomboka ceremony would take place in a day's time. The maoma drums are so powerful that they can be heard about 20 kilometers away. Having heard the maoma drums, the prospective paddlers promptly arrive in Lialui the very next day. Upon arrival, the paddlers begin serious rehearsals which continue until a day before the ceremony. The purpose of these rehearsals is to prepare the paddlers and select those who will actually paddle the Anaconda. Verbal instructions are first given to the paddlers. After a dress rehearsal of paddling the Anaconda, capable paddlers are then selected. Others are assigned to smaller boats that accompany the Anaconda on its journey to Limulunga. The final countdown towards the Kuomboka ceremony has now started, and the boats are hastily being covered with waterproof plastic sheets and reed mats. Water is removed from the boats and all leaks are sealed with tar to make the boats waterproof. The recent addition to the Kuomboka is the regatta in traditional style. The Litunga of the Lozi people flags off the regatta. The regatta is a fun and good-hearted competition using traditional canoes. Women are also encouraged to show their paddling skills in the regatta. On the Mungu side of town, spectators at Mulamba Harbour eagerly await the regatta. Upon arrival at Mulamba Harbour, deserving paddlers are presented with their respective awards. Back in Lialui, it is now the race against time to ensure that all those final touches to the Anaconda and other boats are in place. The interior floors of the boats are decorated with reed mats. The canopies of the boats are covered with white calico cloth. The paddles that will be used during the voyage are decorated by wrapping them in bark strips and then placing them in the fire. D-Day has come. On the day of the Kuomboka ceremony, before sunrise, an image of a huge elephant is placed on top of the Anaconda. The elephant is a symbol of the immense authority of the Litunga. Another image, that of the crested crane, is placed on top of the Mbolyanga, a boat used by Imwambo, the Litunga's wife. The crested crane also symbolizes the authority of the Litunga's wife. Paddlers get up early in the morning to prepare themselves for the expedition. First, the paddlers must eat a very good meal and then dress up in the different traditional gear of a royal paddler. The traditional dress is made of various types of animal skins known to the local people as lipatelo. These are tied around the waist. The paddlers also place part of a lion mane called mushukwe on the forehead. The colorful red beret called lishushu is also worn. The Lozi traditional kilt called siziba is worn by Lozi men and is the official dress for the paddlers. Those paddling the Notila wear ostrich feathers on their forehead instead of lion mane. The paddlers are given a final briefing. The luggage to be carried in the boats is then taken and loaded in single file originating from the Litunga's palace. The Maoma drums are rolled and loaded onto the Anaconda. Big containers full of ilia, the traditional Lozi porridge made of mealie meal and sugar, are also carried and loaded onto the boats. This traditional food, ilia, is to be eaten by paddlers during the voyage to Limolonga. Before the Anaconda and all the other boats set sail, various spectators and visitors arrive at Lialui. The visitors to Lialui include invited guests, diplomats accredited to Zambia, and tourists from within and outside Zambia. This year's Kuomboka ceremony is graced by a special guest of honor, the Republican President, His Excellency Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. The Republican President is received by the acting Ngambela, Imbua Imwaka. The Ngambela, who is the Litunga's Prime Minister, leads the President to the Kuta. The Kuta is a traditional arena where people normally meet to discuss matters of interest and sometimes solve disputes. The Litunga is now ready to leave. The Mwenduko, a traditional drum, is sounded to signify that no matter what happens, the Litunga will leave Lialui today. In other ways, a point of no return. The traditional praise singers bid farewell to the Litunga and his guests. These traditional praise songs and poems are known in Silozi as maloko. The Litunga, accompanied by his guest, now leave the palace for Lialui Harbour. The Ngambela, on behalf of the Litunga, bids farewell to the people who will remain in Lialui and urges them to take care of the palace. As the Litunga enters the Anaconda, a cry of an eagle is heard, which is a sign acknowledging the mightiness of the Litunga. This cry of an eagle is actually a human voice, though it is difficult to tell the difference. Now the Litunga is in the Anaconda and about to set sail, but before he sets off, The paddlers put up a show for the benefit of their guests and audience. They need to show off their paddling skills. On the Nalikwanda, other paddlers in festive mood perform various dances. The excitement of the people as the Nalikwanda sets sail is almost palpable. Cameramen and tourists are not to be left out as they prepare to get various shots of the Nalikwanda. As the Nalikwanda sets off from the harbour, various traditional canoes that include those of tourists and diplomats, some with their national flags, head towards Nengwana, a water arena where another flotilla of official canoes is waiting to accompany the Nalikwanda to Limulunga's summer capital. At Nengwana, the Nalikwanda is joined by the Mbolianga, the boat carrying the Litunga's wife. When the Bolianga joins the Nalikwanda, another paddling display known as Kukumbakumba is performed. At Limulunga, 20 kilometers away, people begin to assemble at Nayuma Harbour as early as 14 hours in the afternoon to await the arrival of the Litunga and his entourage from Lialui. Back in Lialui, the Nalikwanda finally heads for Limulunga, escorted by a convoy of various traditional canoes. The voyage from Lialui takes about 4 to 6 hours by canoe, but this is deliberately prolonged by the paddlers to last at least 8 hours, so that the paddlers arrive at Limulunga shortly before sunset. This is in line with the Lozi tradition, which dictates that the Litunga must always arrive at his destination at sunset. Just before arrival at Nayuma Harbour, The Nalikwanda docks about 2 kilometers away from the harbor. The paddlers rest and take refreshments while the Litunga puts on his admiral's uniform. The admiral's uniform signifies that the Litunga is the conqueror of the waters. As the Nalikwanda approaches the barrier of the canal leading to Limulunga, the gates are opened and the increased volume of water allows the Nalikwanda to pass through the canal without grounding. The Nalikwanda does not just come straight to the harbor. It docks for the first time as the paddlers are performing the Manjabela dance, much to the delight of everyone. The Nalikwanda has arrived. Then the Nalikwanda turns back as if to retrace its journey. When it does this, the paddlers switch to the Lishoma beat and dance. This docking and reversing is repeated 3 times. During the third and final time, the paddlers break into the captivating rhythm of the Maoma dance. The crowds are ecstatic. The Maoma drums continue to sound until all the boats and canoes have docked. It is an exciting choreography to witness the docking of the Nalikwanda and all the other boats. First to leave the Nalikwanda are the paddlers, and then the Litunga disembarks. The Litunga is dressed in an immaculate admiral's uniform. The Litunga greets the guest of honor before he goes to the kuta in a solemn procession known as Kuomboka. The guest of honor and paddlers accompany him to the kuta. As soon as the Litunga leaves Nayuma harbor for the kuta, his wife, the Imwambo, and Mukwai Ngula Makoshi, the mother of the Litunga, also disembark from their respective boats and proceed to the kuta in a similar procession. It is now early morning on the second day at about 05 hours. The Maoma drums are heard for the last time during Kuomboka ceremony. Once the hand signals to stop is made, the Maoma drums will be silent until the Kufuluhela ceremony. This is the time when the Litunga returns to his winter palace in Lialui. On this second day of the Kuomboka, many people and tourists have left, but for those in the know, the Kuomboka ceremony is not yet over until it is finally over. In the afternoon of the second day, Mungu residents and those who have stayed on are entertained to various traditional dances performed at the kuta. This dance is known as Anaconda. The Litunga also watches the dance of the warriors known as Ngomalume. It is now the third day of the Kuomboka ceremony. The women, clad in their famous traditional dress known as musisi, showcase their dancing skills in the presence of the litunga and the people. The women's dance is known as liwale. As the sun sets in the sky, the Kuomboka comes to an end. The Litunga is now safe in his winter palace, and he will remain there until the water recedes. Only then will he return to his summer capital in Lialui. Clearly, the Kuomboka is not only an essential ceremony of surviving the floods, but it is also a unique ceremony that defines not only the Lozi people, but an entire nation as a whole.